We're back, and we're going to show you this videotape. We're going to show you a little bit of the videotape. This is Trisha Isayev's video that she did for her high school graduation. Take a look.
He sits in his cell all day long. Does he ever think of me? Of the others who put him there? Was there ever any remorse? Locked away. He is locked away, but for such a short time. Soon time will pass. The big iron lock will no longer be there. The barbed wire no longer protecting us from him. He will be free, free to roam. Who will he go to? Who will be next? I used to live 2 different lives. Then there was 2 of me, the one with my mom and the one with my dad. It is sad to know that I have had to live 2 different lives. I lost who I was. I lost who I am.
Tell me about that. What's that about?
That's actually a video about child sexual abuse. I actually pulled the little subsections from my own diary and put them together to make a video on child sexual abuse and what it could do to a child. Okay,
so can you tell us about your experience? What happened to you? How old were you?
I was probably around like 5th grade or so, and it was just it was an outside family member, but sort of a family member, and he's actually in jail now. So
this is an adult, or
he's
an
adult?
Okay, Julianne, let's talk about that, because I think that sexual abuse is probably one of the most underrated things in our country, and we hear all the time. We see stuff about sexual predators, and your particular case, Trisha, it was somebody outside of the home, but a lot of times it's relatives or people that you know within the home. So let's talk about that in terms of you know, there are all kinds of violence and there's all kind of abuse going on. And she's an incredible young lady that she's sitting here at 19 and she's sharing her story. But there are a lot of people who are not recovering, or they're still trying to recover from those kind of experiences.
Right. If I can just say, Trisha was 12 years old when I accompanied her to court to testify against her perpetrator.
Is that how, can you explain how the 2 of you met?
Yeah, she was referred to me. She was referred to me through Victim Witness Services because she had been a victim of a crime.
Okay.
So I took the case, and I knew that part of taking this case meant accompanying her to court to face her abuser, and she did at 12 years old. She had to look this person in the eye, and she did it.
An adult.
An adult, and someone she had looked up to in her life. And it was one of the most amazing experiences for me, holding her hand, sitting right next to her side. And for her to do that, this guy got put away. He's still away. He's not hurting children now. And Trisha did that. And she's moving forward in her life. People can heal from this kind of abuse, but it's painful and it's hard, and they have to talk about it, they have to process it, you know, and it's hard.
That's really hard for a lot of people, because there's a lot of shame attached to it, and a lot of not wanting to bring attention to yourself, if you will. So let me ask you, Trisha, about that, because you stood up. 12 years old, you stood up.
It was hard, though. It took a lot. It took a lot of courage. I had to have a lot of support from people I love. So
yeah. Were there moments when you wondered if you could do that, or if you felt, you know, are you ever worried about at some point in this process? And Julianne, you can certainly join in this, where, you know, when people start verbalizing stuff, and then it's, oh my God, how is so-and-so going to react to what I'm saying, or you know, what are people going to think?
It wasn't more of what people were going to think. I was more afraid about how they were going to feel about the situation. I wasn't worried about myself, but how others were going to feel about how they felt about what happened to me.
Really? In what way?
Like, I was just worried about, you know, my parents, if they were going to be upset, or if they, not mad at me, but mad that they didn't see it or understand. And then I was more afraid of looking him in the eyes. I was more afraid of just saying, like, you know, what if he denies it in front of me, or what if he tells me that I was wrong and I was lying?
Did he?
He pled not guilty. That was the closest.
Okay.
And I just remember he took notes during the the questioning, and that was hard.
Well, and often pedophiles don't recognize the damage they're doing to a child, and it's really irreparable in the sense that that will always be with that person, but one can heal. One can absolutely heal from it. I think that for many, there may be initial shame, because often the victim of sexual abuse is told that it's his or her fault. So they're
somehow
walking,
they contributed.
Exactly. So it's getting, first of all, the child or the adult even, because many people have been abused as children and don't get help until they're adults. But getting that victim to understand that it was never his or her fault. And I will tell a young person, you could stand in front of that person naked and they had no right to touch you. You did not bring this on yourself. This was the adult, and this person was supposed to have boundaries and tell you, no, even if that maybe a young girl may be seductive, she may think that that's how she gets attention. It's still not okay. It still doesn't mean she's asking for it because she's a child and a minor.
I was just going to be, you brought something to mind when you said a child or a young person being seductive. What kind of conflicting messages are we seeing in our culture right now, particularly when we talk about music videos and just some of them? You're smiling. I mean, you know, I see a lot of things that to me are so inappropriate, particularly for young women, because the messages are so disrespectful. But I hear a lot of young people who will sort of listen to a song and they're bebopping along to it because the beat's really good, but the message is so derogatory towards women. So there's sort of this mixed message I think that we're sending out a lot of times. What you tell me?
I was just laughing. There's just, you know, the song, like, there's a new song like Promiscuous, and it's just all about being that easy girl that, you know, wears the low-cut shirts and shows off your belly and shows off all that, and it's not like that. It shouldn't be like that, especially with, like, I have an 8th grade sister. I know how it is. Like, I don't want her wearing those mini skirts and those cleavage shirts.
So then if a child or somebody like that is then abused in some fashion, and then you've got all these conflicting emotions about maybe somehow I caused it, as you mentioned, or maybe I'm responsible because. Well,
and if that's what they're being told, then they're going to believe it. I was in San Diego with a group of teenagers. We put on a play about date rape for about 1,000 youth in LA, and we had on one side we had a line of guys, and on one side we had a line of girls. They were coming up to the microphone, and they wanted to talk. The girls were saying, we can wear anything we want. We can wear the short skirts and the low-cut tops. That doesn't mean we're asking for sex. And the guys were saying, but that's the message we're getting from you, is that you want sex if you're wearing those kinds of clothes, and you're asking for it by wearing that. So there's a lot of confusion between the genders of what's okay, what's not okay, and then they're getting all these mixed messages with the lyrics of these songs and things. So it's very confusing. And then if someone's being abused at home, that triples the confusion. Because how confusing is that than someone who you're supposed to be safe with is abusing you? Or even outside of the home, but someone you're supposed to trust.
Somebody you trust, absolutely. Somebody
it's very painful.
It's very painful.